types of beings. You have the great ones. That is us carrying on at this particular time, getting our memory back. So, and that's a very small group of people. It's like 0 point something. How do you know the great ones? The great ones were allowed to become conscious in this dispensation of time. The next ones are the marginal beings. The marginal beings are people that can be anywhere from serial killers to genius. So that would just basically be anything from your upper mobile and your functional people in society. And then you would have what is called the dross, and that is completely dead people. We got a lot of those, completely dead people. And just people surviving.
Right.
No interest in why they are here or anything. It's just it's just like a transitory life, a spook life. It just goes through the motions. And these are the majority of people on the planet Earth. These are the majority of people on the planet Earth. You see what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
You know, so, but the great ones are the ones that's in this particular consciousness. Now, this is not to feel superior as it is of just self-realization. You see what I'm saying? Self-realization.
Right.
But the great ones are included in these different functions of people, and we're the ones that will break through to the other side, as the Doors would say. Jim Morrison and them, break on through to the other side. You see, I want to address a few things before we get into this to show you the magnitude, how crazy we have become in this particular aspect. There's a group, and I think there's a group that put out a movie back in 2006, and the name of that movie was called The Diary of a Tired Black Man. And basically, it's a guy that took a camera and he went around to black people, black guys all over the country, mainly niggas hanging around barbershops and different things, and they just blamed the black woman for the ills of society and everything else. So the movie probably didn't go off that good, and he put a new one out called, I think it's called The Death of Black America or something like that. And here goes again, they're blaming the black woman. Now, I believe that basically these are, and it's a documentary to come out, and I believe that these people, I think that there's some other people behind this. You see, there's some other people behind this, outside of just the black man, because it makes no sense to say, how can you make claim of 20 million black women, you see what I'm saying, and put them all in one box category, category, because you didn't get along with a sister, you see what I'm saying, or what have you, and all. So, but what these are, I think that there's some, I don't want to say government, I want to say secret societies behind it, because the government, you know what I'm saying, is run by the secret societies. But nevertheless, I think it's called Death of Black America or something like that. But the movie was called Diary of a Tired Black Man, and this type of thing. This Death of Black America even blamed Oprah for the death of Black America. I mean, but my point here is there's always some stuff to just keep confusion going. You see, to keep confusion going. You see what I'm saying? But when you really look at it, you know that this stuff has nothing to do with how a lot of people feel. This is some stuff that's directly related to get a response. It's like, take for instance, what's her name? Frances Cress Welsing broke some stuff on the Jenna 6 thing, on what that was all about. So it's they'll make a reaction in the black community, and we'll go and go out and we'll protest and all of this. But what came out of that was it was almost like some type of experiment. And what the January 6th thing ended up being was that it was George W. Bush, the last president. Basically, when you would have things like nooses hanging, any kind of things like that, those things would be handled by the federal government. Years ago, they was made into federal crimes. But what had happened was somewhere in the last 5 or 6 years, George Bush turned all of that type of civil rights stuff and all of that type of hate stuff, he turned it back over to the states. And as a result, the January 6th thing happened just to get the track and just to monitor how the whole states would carry out with these types of things. You see what I'm saying? And then as a result, we see what happened in Arizona with the whole Mexican thing and racial profiling and getting rid of ethnic studies in both Texas and in Arizona. That is because a lot of this stuff was turned back over from the states to the states that used to be federal crimes.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like that. You see. So just interesting some things on how things are actually going and stuff. But it's always going to be things on that particular level for confusion. So let's get into some things, and then we'll go into a good question and answer. But we're going to get into some things. The first thing I want to do is, I'll start with my experiences. I had an experience on the 1st of May, on May 1st. So it was one of those things that I thought I was going to do a lecture like it was when I thought I went down to Birmingham and ended up having to rescue those 4 girls. You remember that whole thing? Yeah. So I got a call to come to Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I'd spoken in Memphis in 1993. I spoke for the Nation of Islam, believe it or not, in 1993 at the mosque. And I also spoke at a house on the Underground Railroad. It was one of the last stops in the South before they could make it to the North. They had to cross a certain part in Memphis, and I spoke there in the Underground Railroad in the a house. This woman that owns this house. She told me an interesting story that the history of Memphis is, we know that it's named after Memphis, Egypt, Memphite theology, and Memphis, Egypt, Memphis, Kemet. We know this, but the story that this historian of Memphis and the woman that's the curator of this Underground Railroad house explained to me that the Native Americans, when the white settlers got to Memphis, it was the Native Americans that told them that this particular place was called Memphis. And you can't change it. It's Memphis. And at that particular time, by the time they got to Memphis, a lot of those were a lot of the whites were actual Masons and stuff like that. So therefore they understood the importance of the whole Kemet thing. So they left it Memphis, but it was the Native Americans that told them that it was Memphis and gave them this remarkable story on that they were not native to the actual land, that when they got there, there was a group of Egyptians that were living there. Basically, they were cousins, or they were relatives of some people that would travel to see them and make pilgrimage to see them, and they were nothing but a group of Egyptians that settled that land. Okay. That settled that land. And, you know, we always talk about how we know now that the pyramids were nothing but around the world, where you could travel around the world like an ancient airport. Right. And that's what that whole Jumpers movie is about, the movie Jumpers and stuff like that. So it was no problem getting from different parts of the earth. And you know, but anyway, they told them that there was a group of Egyptians, and they settled the land before they were there, before the Native Americans were there. So in so many words, Memphis was always named Memphis.